When you think about Peter Gabriel, he can mean a lot of different things to different people. If you're a boomer, you will think of him as being part of the greatest prog band of all time, talking about the early Genesis albums, and you probably hate the albums from the 80s with Phil Collins. If you're Gen X, you probably remember him as the guy with the weird music videos on MTV, such as Sledgehammer and Shock the Monkey, and you probably also remember that scene from Say Anything with the boombox where John Cusack plays In Your Eyes. If you're younger than Gen X, you might not know who he is, although I'm sure you have heard at least one of his songs in a movie, maybe like the Pixar film Wall-E. And now he has a new album called I.O. It's an interesting album. It's his first album of new material since Up from 2002. This is his longest gap between albums, but he's been very active in other projects since then. This album has been a long time in the making, with initial production dating back to 1995. What's also interesting is that most of this album has been available for some time now, as all the songs have been released as singles. I'll explain that in more detail as I go through the songs. The album was announced back in November of 2022, and the title is I.O., which stands for Input Output, as well as One of the Moons of Jupiter. He released one single every month on the date of the full moon, and an alternate mix of the same song on every new moon. So every single was accompanied by a piece of art. I will be showing that art as I go through the songs. The album was officially released on December 1st, 2023, and there are a variety of physical formats available with the songs as well as different mixes. The album has 12 songs. It is 68 minutes long, making it his longest album to date. I'm going to talk about his songs now. Every song has both a dark side mix and a bright side mix, and there's also an inside mix in some of them. Opening track and the first single, Panopticom, was released back in January 2023. Thought it was a good song. It has a soft electronic sound, and it makes you think of modern technology. Peter still uses some traditional instruments such as the acoustic guitar. The idea behind the song is that it's supposed to be this massive data globe called the Panopticom. It's some futuristic thing that brings us all together. The song has Tony Levin on bass and Brian Eno on keyboards. According to Peter Gabriel, he was inspired by the work of various nonprofit organizations and research groups. Number 2 is The Court, the second single, and this one has a really cool drum beat. It sounds very unique. The song is pretty cool. It sounds like modern pop music with a little bit of that modern production. There are also some hints of Peter's solo work coming through the song. The single's cover art features the photograph Lifting the Curse by Tim Shaw. The lyrics about the balance between needing a legal system and resulting abuse of power. I thought it was a good song. It had many layers of sound in the final mix. Playing for Time was the third single. The cover art for this track features Annette Messinger's Me Voy Ave No Shriva. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but it's one of the softer tracks. Peter Gabriel claims he was inspired by the work of a nonprofit organization for this track. And let me read a quote from Peter on the song. He says, "Playing for Time is a song that I've been working on for a long time and have been performed live without lyrics, so some people may be familiar with it. It's been an important song for me. It's about time, mortality, and memories, and the idea that each of us has a planet full of memories which get stashed inside our brain." I read a lot of comments saying this is one of his most heartfelt songs. It just feels very real. People have also commented on how his vocals sound just as good as they always have. Number 4 is I.O. It's the fourth single. This one has a music video. It was pretty cool. It consists of like abstract images that appear as if you're looking under a microscope. Another one of his more upbeat songs, reminded me of some of his stuff from the 80s. The I.O. Refers to the input and output and about everything being connected. I thought this was one of the better songs on the album. Had a memorable chorus, and as always, Peter's vocals sound just as good as ever. Four Kinds of Horses was the fifth single. This was kind of a haunting and atmospheric track. Almost reminded me of a score from a suspenseful movie. I really like the intro to the song with the eerie synths. The lyrics are based on the Buddhist parable of the Four Kings of Horses. It describes different ways a student can approach their spiritual practice. The lyrics also mention religion and peace on one side and war and terror on the other. The lyrics are deep and introspective. The artwork for the song was created by Cornelia Parker. Thought it was pretty good. It was one of the more atmospheric songs with a lot of layers of sound. Road to Joy is more of an upbeat song. I was like, it had a lot of like a world music influence. There are a lot of unique sounds used in this track. The song features a Soweto Gospel Choir. Cover art was done by Al Vewi, and the work called Middle Finger in Pink. If you take a closer look at this picture, there are all these like little hands giving the finger. Thought that was pretty cool. Please excuse the dogs. They always bark when I'm recording. But I read a lot of comments saying he played this live on the current tour, and was one of the highlights of the show. Reminded me of some of his earlier solo work from the 80s when he started using electronic sounds. Songs about near-death experience and locked-in syndrome, situations where people are unable to communicate or move. So Much is a softer piano-based song. This one has Peter's daughter Melanie on backing vocals. This one has a lot more of a stripped-back sound. Some of the other songs has some soft orchestral arrangements, songs about getting old and looking towards your future. The artwork is from Henry Hudson and it's called Somewhere Over Mercia. The artwork is very minimalistic and I think it fits the song very well because the song is fairly simple with some heartfelt lyrics and emotions. Olive Tree is the 8th track. It was released back in August. I thought it reminded me of some of his earlier solo material. The vocals are very familiar sounding. It was one of the more upbeat tracks and reminded me of his material from the 80s. According to Peter, the song is about connection and how we interact with the world around us. The song features artwork from the artist Bartoli Togu and his work Chroniques avec la Nature. Then we have track number 9, Love Can Heal, also released back in August. This is one of my favorite tracks and one I have been listening to on repeat over the past few months. It's a haunting and beautiful song. Showcases Peter's vocals, which still sound great. It's very dreamy and atmospheric. The art is from Anthony Micallef and his work, a small painting of what I think love looks like. The song has also been played in his live shows over the years. I really like this one. Has some soft violins and it's a good song when you just want to sit back and relax. This Is Home is track number 10, released back in September and one of the more upbeat ones. I like the drums in this track. Peter's vocals sound very good as always. They reminded me of some of his songs from the 80s, especially when he sings in a higher range. This one's still dreamy and atmospheric. It has a great percussion and groove. Also, the DJ Skrillex was involved in some of the early versions of the song, but he doesn't appear in this final track. But the artwork is from David Moreno and his work. It's called Conexión de Catedral 2. Track 11 and still is the 11th and penultimate track released on the full moon Saturday, October 28th, 2023. Another one of the more ambient and atmospheric tracks. It's a very personal song for Peter, who wrote this for his mother many years after she passed away. The song has been played live as some cello playing in the song. I thought it was a very heartfelt song. If you read the lyrics, he talks about memories of his mother. A very personal song. Final track, Live and Let Live. It's the final single released a few days before the official album release. The song is accompanied by the striking sound-suit artwork of Chicago-based artist Nick Cave. And in case you are wondering, Nick Cave is the artist, different person than Nick Cave in the Bad Seeds, the musician there. Two different people. The song reminded me of a solo stuff from his album from the 70s and 80s. The song is about forgiveness, tolerance, and optimism. It was meant to be a positive song to be released during a time when there is a lot of turmoil in the world. Now for my final thoughts. I thought it was pretty good. Peter Gabriel still sounds good. His vocals have not deteriorated over the years, or they still sound as good as they always have. And the album's very laid back. It's more on the ambient side, but that's really not a problem. I'm not expecting him to do prog or another 80s type of album. It's still good. It's just what he wants to do. And I give it an 8 out of 10. Let me know in the comments what you think. Check out this video right here. The only related video I have is the Genesis album ranking, and you might not like it. I actually have a preference for the Phil Collins albums that are ranked fairly high. But let me know anyway, and please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. I'll see you in the next one.